Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 97 of the Launch Your Live show. My name is Christian Karasiewicz, and I'm the founder and host of the Launch Your Live show. And on this week's episode, we're going to take a bit of a sort of, I guess, a Halloween theme for this. And it's about 7 things you want to avoid, 7 mistakes. So, 7 live stream mistakes you want to avoid so that you don't scare away your live viewers. So, how we doing, everyone? So great to see everyone. If you happen to be watching us live over at Amazon, fantastic. Do us a favor, tell us where you're tuning in from. Also, if you want to leave a comment and just tell us, hey, you know what, this is where I'm tuning in from. This is what I want to learn today. In addition to this, by the way, if you're watching or if you're listening, all you have to do is go to launcher.live/EP97. So launcher.live/EP97. And what that's going to do is it's going to get you over to our Amazon Live so you can watch us as we are going to be talking about just some amazing things this week on this week's show, actually. So with that, I've got Marco Novo here with me, and we're gonna kick things off to talk about 7 things you want to avoid. So live streaming mistakes. Now, if you've listened to the podcast for a while, we did an episode back on episode 51 at launcher.live/EP51, where we did talk about some additional mistakes to avoid as a live streamer. This is a list that is constantly expanding. So just kind of keep that in mind. So we are excited to have you join us. And I'm going to go and bring on Marco. Marco, it's great seeing you. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me again. It's a
Anytime.
pleasure. Let's talk about these scary, spooky things.
I know, right? And here's the thing: we're sort of sensationalizing these. I mean, but these are legitimately things that you want to avoid as a live streamer because you know it's not to say this when if somebody makes these mistakes, it's not necessarily going to mean that somebody's going to automatically instantly stop following you or listening to your live stream or whatnot, but it does impact things. So for example, if it was the first time somebody was tuning in and you might have, maybe you do something a little different during your show, then it might be off-putting to those people. And so they may, if it's their first time tuning in, they may just decide right then and there, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna this isn't my live stream. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. So with that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about 7 live stream mistakes that you want to avoid. Marco, what is the first mistake that we want to talk about as a live streamer?
Okay. And this is crucial for me. It's not being prepared. Okay, so because it's something that we should have in mind. And sometimes we think, okay, it's live. We just and there's this thing we just need to hit the go live button. Okay, yes, we need, but and okay, people may forgive you some mistakes, and I think it's good to highlight this. One of the things you should do also, it's be kind of understand when you do mistakes, but please avoid them. Okay, that's why we are doing this, so we can make better shows. Like Christian said, if it's the first time someone is tuning in and we are doing things in a weird way, maybe they will be scared and they run away.
And here's the thing you have to remember. It's not necessarily about doing something that's weird. Like, it's okay to do things weird, but you have to also make sure that they make sense. And so you could have like a really kooky like type of show, but if your audience is not, if your audience is, again, you kind of have to prepare for some of these. You can't prepare for all the scenarios. However, what you can do is you can prepare for your live streams. And what I mean by that is making sure that, for example, I'll use this show as an example. Every time that Marco and I do this show, we keep a separate document where we write out like our intro script. We've got all of the items already kind of outlined about what they're going to be. We've got products already talked about, products we're going to talk about during those segments, And so what I like to do personally is this is what I use. I use this. And this is a Rocketbook. This is the Rocketbook Mini, by the way. It does come with this fantastic pen. And by the way, it's like, oh, it's a pen. This is like magic, by the way. So what I do to help myself be prepared is whenever I'm going to be live streaming, I'm taking notes all the time. So I'm walking around and I take this with me. I mean, it's super like portable. I've got a pen, and then it also happens to have a couple little party tricks, I guess you could say, with them. And one of those party tricks, by the way, in addition to the pen, it also comes with a microfiber cloth. Pretty neat. So it comes with a microfiber cloth, and that's because when you write in this notebook, it's regular paper. You can write with a physical pen, and then it comes with the party trick, which is you can use this QR code at the bottom, and you can scan all your notes that you've written into an email. You can have them go into Google Drive. You can have them go into your favorite applications, such as like Evernote, for like keeping track of them. And then they become searchable. And then the cool party trick of this notebook is that I can literally write in this notebook and I can erase. So I basically write with this pen, and then I take this out when I'm finished. I dampen this, and then I just, and there we go. And I have a brand new notebook that I can reuse. So it's a pretty amazing notebook to use in terms of helping prepare. And so the thing I like about this is that I don't have to, I don't have to keep lots of different notebooks and then have to figure out, well, how do I digitize that? Because that'd be like entering the information twice. Instead, what I do is I like to keep this notebook handy, and then I can write it up, and then I can be ready to go. So this is the Rocketbook, by the way. So they come in multiple sizes, by the way, as well. But this is a super handy notebook, great for helping you stay on track as a live streamer. Now, the other thing, though, we should talk about, Marco, is, personally, like I think people need to have a calendar. What do you think?
Yes, they should. For instance, I love Google calendars, but there are others which are even more interesting to keep you in mind and aware about your schedule.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so what I like to do with this is I like to have a very large dry erase calendar. It looks like this. And I can stick this on my wall. It uses dry erase, by the way. And so this way I get an idea of what those items are that I need to be working on. So again, it's helping you prepare, meaning, do I know when my live streams are going to be? And then also making sure you're able to take notes wherever you're at. By the way, studies have also shown that writing things down actually helps commit them to memory, as opposed to just digitally typing them out. So
Yes.
item number one, you want to avoid. So don't be unprepared. So that's the key thing. Avoid unpreparedness. I think that's right. Marco, is that a word? I think that is right.
Yes.
So make sure you're prepared. And because here's the thing, if you're not, you're going to show up to your stream and you're going to look, everybody says, oh, go live. But the thing is, you want to go live, but you want to have some semblance of order of your live stream, how the show is going to flow, all that sort of thing as well. And that's, by the way, what these products are great for is, you can also map out what your run of show is going to look like, and then actually map it out even further. So, okay. So that's number one. So what is another live stream mistake that you want to avoid, Marco, so that you don't scare away your viewers?
It's testing the equipment, the audio, the video, and these kind of things.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is that they don't spend enough time testing. For example, and here's the thing. It doesn't matter if this is your first live stream or your 100th live stream, or even your 500th live stream. You need to make sure that you test, test, test. So why is this so important, Marco, that people test things?
Well, because sometimes, and this is more critical with audio, okay? And I made this mistake, and now I came with a routine to test it and to avoid it, because I started some shows with the microphone disconnected or picking the wrong microphone, because I have some. And now what I do on StreamYard, I open a window like guest, and I'll check if my sound is good, because the image is good to test if it's working or not, because you show on the screen and that's it. the audio is not that easy. So test the audio, see if the volume is good, if there's no that electronic sound, that metallic sound, to sound clear. Because as we like to say, and I think we say this all the shows at least 2 or 3 times, the quality of the audio, it's so important. Okay, so test it, see how you look, see how you sound, and also you can test the internet as well, but this is really easy to do. So do it, because this will save you so many headaches.
It will, yes. And I gotta say, so like you mentioned testing, like, so for example, what kinds of things do you test? So for example, one of those is going to be to test the internet. You can go to fast.com, for example, and you can test the internet there, and you can get an idea of how fast your upload speeds are, by the way. So if you are streaming, doesn't matter, by the way, if you're streaming on Amazon Live right now, you want to be doing these things as well. So you want to go through fast.com, test your internet, see what the upload speeds are. Make sure, for example, if they're really low, then maybe restart your router, restart your computer. You know, if you notice the quality is not that great, then again, like, you want to make sure that you test as much of this beforehand. So this way, when you're getting ready to go live, you're not showing up like 5 minutes beforehand and then you're like, oh, well, my audio doesn't work or my camera's not working. Show up at least 15 to 20 minutes ahead of time, even if it's just you. 15 to 20 minutes ahead of time. Get your notes in order. This way you can go live at the right time. So again, make sure you test the internet, test your microphone, test your camera, make sure all of that stuff is working. And then also, if you notice, like, for example, if you notice your computer has been having, some challenges, things like that, restart the computer. And then it might also be time to maybe upgrade that computer as well. So just kind of think about that sort of thing. So Marco, is there anything we want to talk about right here now in terms of like, what kind of like any products you want to talk about with this one?
Well, we can talk about the Mac Mini you have there, because
The one that is, let's see, where it's at. Yes, the one that's right over my shoulder here, or sort of more like behind me. So, for those, we talk about, like, you and I talk about this all the time, Marco. Like, when you're going to start live streaming, you need to make sure you have good quality products. And I'm not saying like, oh, you have to go buy the most expensive device. You need to buy the best machine for your budget. And this is actually a product. I mean, it's one of my favorite products. This is the Mac Mini M1, by the way. And so, the thing I like about this is that this is my backup computer. So, for example, if something ever goes wrong, I have this. So I got this ready. Pretty much, basically, it'll have to live on my desk, or you can mount it underneath your desk if you want to. But the great thing is, it's a fantastic computer for live streaming. So, like, if you're like, you know what, because the other great thing is this thing has so many ports on it. By the way, it's got HDMI, it's got USB-C, it's got USB-A, it's got Ethernet. So, if you get like the laptop option, you're kind of limited on ports. You got to buy adapters and dongles and things like that. But if you happen to get the Mac Mini, for example, this is a good test product to have. So this is the Mac Mini, by the way, that Marco and I are talking about. This is the M1. This is the base model. Honestly, the base model of this thing is amazing. It will fly. So I would strongly encourage you, if you're somebody who, you want a good computer to use for live streaming, this is fantastic to have. Super quiet, by the way, as well. So the fan does not kick on. So keep that in mind. So again, test before you're getting ready to go live. Okay. Number 3 in our list of 7 live streaming mistakes to avoid, we're going to talk about framing. So framing is super important. For example, Marco and I right now, we try to frame ourselves, like we try to center ourselves within our own box here. We try to make sure, for example, that there's like 2 fingers or so of headroom between the top of the box and the top of our head. We try to make sure, for example, that we're not sitting too close or that we're not sitting too far away, right? Yes. So the thing is that's super important because, again, this also creates intimacy with your viewers. So Marco, for example, if like, why is it so important for me to be almost aligned with you in terms of us being on screen.
Because other way it will look awkward when we see those live streams that. And also, let's imagine I'm doing this all alone, okay, and I will show up like some people with my forehead cut it, okay, or I just show like this way. This seems really awkward, okay. So this is the kind of two fingers option, which is, I think it's better and looks better on screen. So if and we see all the kind of framing, for instance, those people that came, they are like this in the
Yeah.
camera, or like this, and it's awkward. So this brings kind of harmony to the broadcast as well.
It does, yeah. And framing is important. So why is it so important? Why is it a live streaming mistake that you want to avoid? Part of it is that it makes you look unprofessional. I mean, I will be serious. I have seen live streamers, they've been laying in their bed with their like screen right there in front of them. They've literally been doing that. And I'm like, that just comes across weird. Like if you're doing a stream about like a topic, like, hey, I'm testing out a mattress or something like that, then that would make sense. But like literally, I've seen, and it's not been once, I've seen it multiple times by a few people. And I'm like, okay, we got to kind of fix that. So framing super important. The other thing also is, again, it helps you look more professional. It also helps improve your audio quality. So for example, my microphone is right here in front of me and I'm going to like go all the way back. So here's basically what happens. I sit back in my chair now and I'm way out of, I don't really look like I'm engaged as much. Right.
Yeah.
And then if I don't happen to have a boom arm, say my microphone was here, I wouldn't have the ability to get right up on the mic. So it can affect your audio quality as well. So you want to make sure, obviously, when you're streaming, that you frame yourself properly, again, because it also creates the right view for your viewers. Now, the other thing I also want to mention with framing, Marco, do me a favor. I want you to do this. I want you to switch to your Stream Deck, your Logitech camera shot. So do you have is that the one? What's the behind the scenes? Let's go to the behind the scenes one first.
Okay, let me do this. I think it's this.
So yes. Okay. So when I talk about framing, here's another thing that's super important. So this is Marco. Marco has, so he's using, let's pull up that Stream Deck, by the way. Okay. So Marco is using a Stream Deck to help control the different angles. Ah, perfect. That's what I want. He's pulling up, like he's framing himself, or in this case, he's framing his desk for what he wants to show people.
Yes.
And so framing is like super important because it's not just about how does Marco look on camera, how does Christian look on camera. It's also about what you're trying to show people. So for example, if Marco wanted to do a view of his desk, and let's say he had this camera like not positioned properly, it defeats the purpose of him trying to do like an unboxing video or something like that.
Yes. Like this one's in a while.
Exactly. Very hard to like. So again, you have to make sure you frame not just yourself, but the shots that you're going to use. For example, Marco, let's go back to your main shot. So Marco's got the front camera. He's got a behind the scenes camera.
This one. Okay.
And then he's got obviously the shot of his desk. And as you can see, they have different purposes. So for example, if he were doing the behind the scenes one and he was talking about like, hey, I'm going to unbox this item. So do me a favor, pick up those headphones you had there.
Okay, there we go.
So Marco were like, hey, I'm going to unbox this. He has to look at the camera and then make sure that he's got, so he's got to make sure he's looking at the camera, which is in front of him, or in this case, behind him. But he needs to make sure that it's easy for people to also understand what he's doing. If he were like, I'm going to unbox these and he couldn't get close enough to those, that it defeats the purpose of him framing it like that. So what's the tool you're using, Marco, by the way, to do that control?
The Stream Deck.
So Marco's got the Stream Deck. Yes. Fantastic. So so which Stream Deck model is that you have?
It's the 15 key.
Very cool. So Marco's got the 15 key. I also have a 15 key as well. So let's show people what that 15 key looks like. So Marco's got the 15 key product, and this is the 15 key version of the Stream Deck, by the way. So So if you're using a tool, if you're using like OBS, for example, or in our case, we're using StreamYard or another live streaming platform, for example, or heck, even just your phone to do Amazon Live, you can use the Stream Deck to control different things and run different things of your broadcast. So it can help with your framing once you get the camera set up. Now, I also have a Stream Deck here as well. I have a 32 button Stream Deck in addition to the 15 button one that Marco's got there. And so like the great thing about these Stream Decks is that you can actually use them for multiple things. So I can have 2 Stream Decks running at the same time to do different things, for example. But they can help with a lot of things. So for example, if you're, just getting started and you want to like change some of the frames like Marco was doing, he was using OBS to do that with his Stream Deck. So this can help you create that different framing that you want for your shot. Do me a favor, Marco. Let's talk about number 4, another mistake that you want to avoid when you're live streaming. What is that?
Oh, yes, this is this is another important. It's
What?
controlling the conversation.
Okay, so what is it and why is it important?
Because, for instance, there are times when you have a guest, and instead of sending the spotlight to your guest, you are talking all the time, or like it happened to me once. The host was making me the questions, and he was answering them as well. Okay, so have that in mind. It's important to understand the also the mood of the conversation. Don't, for instance, if your guest is not too energetic, don't be really energetic because people will notice the difference of tones, and this won't look good as well. So also be aware of the topic you are talking about, because for instance, some people asked me, why don't you bring that person to your live shows, and that person, because I can't be a good host with them because I don't know enough. It's not my field of knowledge, or I don't know as much as they do, and this will look a little bit awkward when you can't make the conversation flow. So have this in mind as well, because it will look really bad, and I've seen some situations really strange.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And so again, another live streaming mistake to avoid is to avoid controlling the conversation. For example, it doesn't matter that, for example, this is my show and my podcast. It does not matter, because here's the thing. Marco has also taken his time to come on with me and do this. So I want to make sure, for example, you see me switching scenes back and forth. I want to make sure that I give him the floor as well to flex his knowledge, to also, because he's going to have a different view or different opinion on something as well. So we want to make sure there's good banter back and forth, but this, and you don't want to dominate the conversation completely as the host. So again, if you're doing an interview with somebody, remember the interview is about the guest. It's not about you. So you want to make sure that, you give your guest time to shine. So number 4, avoid controlling the conversation. Okay. So let's move on to number 5, Marco. Number 5, a 5th live streaming mistake that you want to avoid is, what does your live stream setup look like? And as much as I love cable management and making sure things are nice and clean and all that sort of thing, that's not what I mean here. It also doesn't mean, that like, oh, you have the most expensive equipment, right? So you want to avoid not having the right equipment, obviously, but you want to make sure also that you have the right environment as well. So, what I mean, so number 5 is, what's your live streaming environment look like? That's what we mean when we talk about a live streaming setup. We don't mean that like, oh, you've got the most expensive mixer and $1,000 microphone and, 5 computers and all that sort of thing. Because you can make your live streams super advanced. We'll talk about that in a minute, but the environment is extremely important. So Marco, why does the environment matter to live streaming? What can happen if my environment's not very good for my audience?
Well, the first thing, it will look crazy in the screen. Okay, it won't look good as well. So, and again, and I don't know about you, Chris, but this was something that I've been asked mostly when this COVID thing came. They asked me how the background, for instance, should look, and one of the things I like to do is the worst in the worst scenario, the background should be neutral. In the
Okay.
best scenario, it should reinforce your message. Okay, because for instance, if the your background, it's removing some authority, it's bringing some distraction to your audience, please take a look at it and replace those things. Because that's, for instance, I have their StreamYard, I have this my some personal things, but with which show something about me. Okay, and some lights to customize the thing, so this won't brings any distraction or remove some strength to my message as well. So have this in mind, because everything that shows up on the screen or sounds,
Yeah.
it's part of the game.
It is, yes. And I love this point. And so we talk about like what does your live stream setup look like? We're talking about like the environment. So we're talking about, for example, like what does it look like in the background? So for example, if you've ever watched any of my past shows, I used to have a brick wall up. And it wasn't a physical brick wall, it was one of those vinyl brick walls. Marco, can you do me a favor? Can you bring up one of those brick walls for me? So the reason I had that was because I didn't have this stuff behind me. For example, I didn't have the lights, I didn't have my little custom bobblehead here. Like I didn't have any of that stuff. And so I was like, all I had was like a blank wall. And I'm still working on this, by the way. But you want to make sure that your environment is not messy. So for example, if you got a whole bunch of like, if I had a whole bunch of boxes and if my live stream was all about like unboxing or things like that,
Yes.
it's okay to have that as part of your background. But if your live stream is, you're trying to teach somebody something, so you're trying to teach them like finance, or you're teaching them something that is not related to like unboxing of things, don't just have a whole bunch of boxes and stuff behind you. You want to have a clean environment behind you. And there's a few ways you can achieve this. So for example, you've got this is a faux brick wall. And this is, what's the size of this? I think it's like what, 5x7 maybe. So basically it's a,
Four
4x, what is it?
430.
Okay. 4x30. Okay. So it's probably 30 feet wide, 4 feet tall, I'm guessing. Maybe it really depends. But again, you could get one of these. This is a vinyl backdrop. You put it behind you. It doesn't have to look, oh, whoa, that's actually really big. um, if it does what I think it does, I think you can actually wrap a wall with it and then a few more. But what you can do with this is you can put it behind you, and it can, for example, in my case, it could take this wall that's right here and it can change the look of the wall, for example, add some depth, make it look a little different, not as like boring, for example, if you had just all white walls behind you. The other thing, by the way, with your environment, is that having that particular like backdrop, if you happen to have a messy background behind you, you can put this up and you can hide a lot of those things. For example, you can buy that backdrop and there's usually a stand with it, and you can put it right behind you. There's also the other option, by the way, we talk about environments. And so behind me, what I've done is I've got some LED light strips here. I've got some objects, and then that's my camera doing all that blurring. So that is an option as well, by the way, if you do want to, change your environment. By the way, Marco, while we're at it, let's also talk lighting real quick. We talk about what your live stream setup looks like.
Okay, I can talk about my LED panels from Newer. Okay, one of the things before I have this, I had two soft boxes, but soft boxes at some point they are good, mostly when you're starting, because in my case, I didn't have a big budget to spend with lights.
Yeah.
So I bought cheap soft boxes, but then I had a problem, which was the lack of control over the lights. Okay, so that's why I brought these RGB LED lights from Newer. And one of the most amazing things, let me change the.
And by the way,
Okay.
Marco, while you're doing that, I got to figure something. If you're watching over at launcher.live/EP97, can you all do me a favor? Can you go there and check and tell me if we're still broadcasting there? Looks like the Amazon live stream quit, which is not surprising. So let's just see if we're still broadcasting there. It said the broadcast ended, and I'm not really sure why. So
Yes, it shows.
did it show it ended? Okay. We're going
Yeah.
live again. So I'm basically stitching this together. So if you're listening, fantastic. If you're watching, I'm sorry about that getting cut off. Just go to launcher.live/EP. Actually, let's see if that works. Launcher.live/EP97. I think I got to change it actually so that it actually redirects correctly.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, so so in terms of like lighting, things like that, what I want to do is I want to show you all this because these are the lights that I have behind me. These are the Genie brand Prisma or the Prisma Strip 32 lights. So these are the ones I'm personally using behind me. So thing I like about these, if I want to change the background, by the way, what this will allow me to do is it will allow me to basically change the background colors behind me. I can change it with my smartphone, things like that. So pretty cool little set of products. I can change it with my smartphone. I can set timers. A lot of really cool things you can do with these. So Marco, do me a favor, bring those up and we'll talk about those.
Let me check. Are you talking about the stripes, right?
Yes, please. Thanks for bearing with us, by the way. Again, this is one of the challenges. When you stream to Amazon, you do have to use the smartphone and the computer, and apparently it doesn't always work. So I would say as a live streamer, don't panic. That's another mistake to avoid.
Yeah.
Don't panic because it can happen, as you can see here.
Yeah.
So this is the Prisma plug strip that we have going on here. Very cool. So again, I mean, I love these products. I love the fact that I'm able to control these with my smartphone. I can change the color as well, as you can see in that screenshot. They have 3M tape on the bottom of them. Personally, what I do is I buy some little hooks and I actually fasten them. I lay them out how I want them to. I don't attach them. And then what I do is I can then move them if I ever need to. So I don't ever have to I can cut them, do some really cool things. And they also work with a lot of your other products like your Alexas and your and whatnot. So very, very, very good product for adjusting and kind of customizing the environment that you're in. So, okay, Marco, let's keep going here. What other mistakes people want to avoid when they're live streaming?
It's so important. Good audio, using headphones. Okay. Also, put things in the right places. For instance, don't use bad tripods to hold your cameras or a microphone which is heavy. Okay, because otherwise it may fall or something, and this would be something not as good as you want. And something that we like to mention all the time, and because we saw this or we heard this this echoing when people use the speakers to listen instead of headphones. Okay, because the bad thing about it is that the sound comes out from the speakers, he gets into the microphone again, and this will make this looping feedback sound, which is so annoying. Okay, and have in mind that one of the things you want to do is to provide the best experience to your audience. Okay, so if you have this kind of situations, this is not achieved. And also have in mind you should to reuse the content you generate through live streaming, and if the audio is ruined by echoing sound, you won't be able to reuse the content as well. So have that in mind, because we still seeing or listening to people which are using the speakers as the source of sound, and it's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk. So in terms of equipment, what kind of equipment do you think people should have?
Well, one of the
Let's
really
start like
affordable,
base. Okay, yeah.
and I bought this, and I had the problem because they were not available on European Amazons. Okay, and it's a trouble when you have to order things from United States when you're in Europe. Okay, let me do the disclaimer. But I couldn't find this, and they are really. Let me see. Okay, there you go. This M6 from me. Okay, they are really affordable, and they just came this week, and I was waiting to this broadcast to unbox them. Okay, so if you don't mind, I will open the box right now.
Actually, let's do this. Let's just talk. I mean, well, let's just talk about how much those cost. Actually, I don't think we have them in the carousel, by the way. So,
This
so
is,
what's the cost of those?
I think it's around $16.
Yeah, so those are around $16, and then so let's do this. Let's pull those up in the pull them up on Amazon, and then I'm going to show you. So we're going to compare Marco's headphones and my headphones that I have as well.
Okay.
So Marco's using the Me Audio headphones. They're about $16. And those are they're very good. I'd say what, low budget headphones, Marco?
Yes, 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 yes.
And
There
here's
you
the thing,
go.
they're not, I will say this, they're not necessarily for live streaming, but they are headphones. And so the great thing about these is they do go behind your ear. The downside is the cable is pretty short with them. But again, a lot of people, if they want to like hide the headphones, these are great. Instead of running them in the front like people are doing there, you run them down your back, and then you have an extension cord or something like that. So those are the Me Audio M6s that Marco has. This, for example, so as you can see, like these are my regular headphones here.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are my regular headphones. And then as you can see, I've got this other cable. This is a 6-foot cable as well attached. So this way I can get up, move around. I can actually move without worrying about like actually causing some issues. So those are Marco's headphones. And then Marco, I have the other ones highlighted. I've got the Sennheiser IE40s. So we talk about having equipment as well. Like these are, I think they were like $75. So these are the Sennheisers. They're the IE40s. And the great thing about these is that they're still wired. These are geared more towards for like if you're doing production or streaming and whatnot. They're great for that. The other ones Marco was talking about are geared towards typically more towards like working out. But again, you can't go wrong with either option. In terms of the quality, I don't know. I think the sound quality of these is going to be better, but you also have to look at like they're what, seven times the price, I think. So so audio. So again, you just need to start with a pair of headphones. The other thing you also need to make sure you do having the right equipment is, we talked about like cameras, for example. So Marco, you've got this camera, I think, like the Logitech C920, I think.
Yes, I do.
So Marco's got the Logitech C920.
Let me see if I can show you. It's there. It's here. Okay.
So Marco's got the C920. Can you do a front-facing shot with that?
Okay, there you go.
So that's the C920. This is a fantastic budget camera to start with as a live streamer. If you have one of these and you've upgraded to other cameras, this is one also if you're looking for hey, I want to improve my webcam, this is a great option to get. It also comes with Logi Capture software, which is free software from Logitech. And so what you want to make sure you do with that is you can use it to tweak the camera quality. You can increase the white balance, the contrast, and so forth of your live stream. So that's the Logitech C920. Other equipment that I'd also recommend checking out is to make sure that you have the right kind of tripod. For example, I've got this one right here. I'm going to show you all this. So Marco, feel free to bring that one up. This is the Manfrotto Pixi, the smart Pixi. If you need, for example, another angle on your desk, Maybe you want to attach a smartphone and use that as a camera as well. This is the Manfrotto Pixi tripod. What I like about this, for example, is that it's got a couple things. So the first thing is the head. It's got a fantastic head on the top. So this way, like I can actually put a camera on here. It'll be sturdy, nice and sturdy. It also has a ball head that rotates 360 degrees here. So I can make adjustments. I can also turn it sideways if I want to get a different view. And then the other thing it also has is if you do need to like raise your camera up, it actually has two different settings for the camera legs. So you can either just raise it out like this and lock it in place, or you can switch to the other option and actually use it as a flat camera as well if you want to get a different shot. So that's the Manfrotto Smart Pixi. The great thing about having this, you could even take that Logitech C920, put it on put it on the tripod, and now you have another way to give a different angle of your live streams, or a way to get that camera up a little bit higher as well. The other piece of equipment that we want to make sure we talk about as well is the Elgato Master Mount. And Marco is going to bring this up as well. So while this Manfrotto Smart Pixi is really good for like, giving you an extra camera angle or things like that to work with, the Manfrotto the Elgato Master Mount is just an amazing mount to have in your toolkit. So, for example, if people are like, well, hey, they're looking down at their laptop, what this will do is you attach this to your desk. It can raise up, but it can also telescope out so that you can get, if you, for example, they have a light, so you can attach a light and do a light looking down at your desk. You can also attach a camera to this. You can also attach another microphone if you want to. You can have two of these on your desk. There's even an additional mount where you put it in the middle, and it will actually then give you like maybe an additional camera and a light on top of it, or a cell phone holder for different models. So this is definitely something I would recommend checking out, the Elgato Master Mount. Again, you don't have to have all of the most expensive cameras, things like that, but you do need to have equipment to help make your live streams look better. Because here's the thing. The mistake you want to avoid here is not having something so basic as headphones, or having a good quality microphone, or having, just a Logitech C920, because the benefit there is that it's going to help you sound better on your live streams. It's going to help you look better, and it's going to make your live streams a lot more, in a way, enjoyable. Because if the audio is good, for example, they'll stick around if the audio is good. If the video is not so great, they don't really care, as long as they can hear your live streams. So again, make sure you have the right equipment. The other thing also, by the way, we talked about like headphones. Headphones are important. It doesn't matter if you're the only person there, doing your streams. The reason you want to have headphones is so that you don't get audio feedback, meaning you're listening to it on your computer. It's coming out of your computer and then back into the computer if you happen to have other audio open. By having headphones on, you isolate the noise so you can talk into the microphone and your audio is coming through nice and clear. Okay.
Yeah. And for instance, if there's that popping notification sounds coming, if you use headphones, this won't get to the microphone as well, because this is annoying thing when this notification are popping all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the last thing I want to do is I want to talk about the 7th live stream mistake you want to avoid. And then I want to get your comments, by the way, as well. So number 7 is, are you interacting with your audience? So Marco, can you kind of talk about what this one means?
Well, when you're talking and you don't answer the questions of the viewers, and if you don't interact with them, if you don't also call them to the conversation, this will look really awkward. That's one of the reasons I'm so skeptical about these pre-recorded, broadcasted live videos, because we will miss the whole interaction thing, which for me it's really important. So if you are doing live shows and you don't interact with your audience, you're losing the most important thing when you go live.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so audience interaction is super important, by the way. So, as we're kind of talking about this, as I'm like going through here, and we're talking about like interacting with our audience. Like there's a lot of really great people that are tuning in that are leaving comments for us. And
Being
we want to
home
make
like usual.
exactly Dean Home. So for example, like he was talking about earlier when we were talking about backgrounds, saying, hey, faux brick walls are nice. Some even look 3D or raised. Absolutely. Like, so it's again, making sure that you're highlighting them and, encouraging, thanking them for tuning in. For example,
Absolutely.
we had Dean Home one, we had, Dimebag Darren here showing up. He talks about coins. He's, just saying, hey, good morning. So, hey, Darren, it's great having you join us as well. And then we even had Freedom Patriot Network as well join and just gave us, quick, hey, great tips here. So again,
Thank you.
awesome. Like you want to make sure you interact with your audience. You don't have to bring it into your live streams, but you don't want to just do the stream and forget that they're even there. So make sure, again, it also becomes part of like you don't have to interrupt your show the whole time to highlight comments, but what you can do is make it a segment of your show.
Yeah.
So, because again, if you don't interact with your audience is there to like learn from you. And so your audience, I mean, I saw a great, what was it? It was the, what was it? It was a sports, it was a show. Actually, no, it was a band. I think it was like Maroon 5. And they were talking about like, there was a fan, I guess, that had run on stage and people were kind of giving the lead singer kind of a hard time about it. And the thing is, they made a great comment. And it was, you know what? We have to make sure we embrace our fans because if we don't, our fans are who make us. So
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you interact with them and, and whatnot. So, yeah. So like make sure that like you're spending, you don't, again, it doesn't have to dominate your stream, but it needs to be part of your stream so that your audience, can like, they're going to want to support you. That's the cool thing. And so the way you give back to them is by, interacting with them, thanking them, whether it's in the comments or, showing their comment on screen, making sure you highlight who that user is as well. So again, if you don't interact with your audience, chances are you're going to scare them away. So, okay, Marco, is there anything else you want to add about any of these mistakes?
One of the things I think you should have in mind about these main mistakes or even other smaller mistakes is that this kind of things, they happen. Don't look at them as something that may cause the you giving up of live streaming. Okay, one of the things that my experience told me was that making mistakes and being live streaming, one of the good things is you will deal better with mistakes. Of course, you have to find ways to avoid these mistakes. Small, like the thing I do before going live, I get the guest link so I can go to other browser tab to check if everything is okay on my side. Okay, but one of the good things you should have in mind: avoid mistakes, but don't think too much when you make one of them. Just next time be more cautious about it, instead of saying, okay, I made this mistake, I'm really bad, I won't be doing this anymore. Okay, because one of the things you will learn is how to deal with these situations, unexpected situations. Okay, but have this in mind. And crucial, prepare and interact with your audience. This is so important, and do it.
Absolutely. So I have a comment for everyone. So if you're listening, for example, you can connect with us at
Thank you, Dean.
Launch Your Live on all our social channels at Launch Your Live. I want to hear from you, by the way. So, if you're, for example, on our social channels at Launch Your Live. However, if you're here watching us live, I want to know this. What mistakes do you think people should avoid as a live streamer? We'll give you all, just a couple minutes here. I want to hear from you in the comments, what mistakes people should be avoiding. So,
Let's do it.
yeah, let's do
Don't
that.
be shy.
And I got to say, I mean, and like while you all are talking about what mistakes you think people should avoid as a streamer, Dean Home One, for example, is mentioning, a very basic, a very good setup, a decent PC or Mac for streaming, or if you can, an A10 Mini Pro with streaming and recording built in, fantastic. And then you just need like a hard drive or an internet connection. So that's it's actually a simple way to do your live streams because everything runs directly through that, the A10 Mini Pro he's talking about. But he also shares some really other good advice. And that's, I think, remembering that everyone, this is from Dean Home One, I think remembering that everyone makes mistakes in the beginning, but getting the first few streams out, you will find your groove. I love that. Absolutely love that. That is excellent advice.
Yes.
And again, the other thing, I think I like to look at it like this, I guess, Marco. Like, if people are making mistakes, we always look at mistakes and we look at them as bad things. But the
Yes.
thing
Yes. Yes.
is, you're supposed to learn from those mistakes. And then once you learn from those mistakes, you're supposed to then, like, I want to say you're not supposed to. The easiest way to get moving faster and get into that groove is make the mistakes early. Don't let them like derail you completely. Like, big deal. You make a mistake. Oh, you're like, my live stream yesterday went terrible, for example. So I said, hey, we're going to make some adjustments to how we
Yeah.
were doing things. And so, for example, like, the key thing is learn from the mistake and fix it sooner rather than later. Don't just let it kind of stew, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And understanding as well which mistakes are crucial, critical to the success of your live show, and also those smaller mistakes that okay you can avoid, you should avoid, but they are not that big deal as well.
Definitely. Yeah. So are there any mistakes you would add, Marco, that we left off?
Okay, this could be a nice one. If
Yep.
you are if you are in a room which is shared, or if there's other people in the surroundings, please let them know from this time to that time it's go live time, so don't interrupt, don't make noise, because this could be something
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
stressing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Environment is super important. I think one of the mistakes people would make is not telling people. For example, like, don't not tell them that you're doing a live stream. Like, for example, if you're in an environment where it's you and a bunch of other people, the mistake people make is they don't tell people they're doing it, and then there's noise, there's people talking, background noise, all that sort of thing. So make sure you tell people ahead of time that you're doing the stream. The other thing also, and I want to highlight this from Dean Home One here, he says, challenging yourself to make your next stream better than the next one. Love that. So the mistake would be not challenging yourself, and the way to fix it is to challenge yourself. So when you're finished with your stream, look back over your stream. Hey, was there a mistake we made, for example? And what was that mistake? And be honest. Like, hey, great, we had a mistake. How do we fix it? The other one is this is also a good one, actually. This is from Freedom Patriot Network. Better internet, learning how to make it better. Asking, for example, their brother if they can use their internet at their office that they rent. So again, if your internet, so for example, the mistake would be if you're live streaming and you don't have good internet and still trying to do the live stream. Internet is important for live streaming, so you want to make sure that you've kind of, like, if you're on Wi-Fi only, notice it's really slow, it's choppy, things like that. Finding an alternate source is the best thing to do versus trying to do the live stream and realizing, hey, you know what? I don't have the resources that I need to make it actually work like it needs to. So again, mistake would be not having the best internet. Typically, by the way, for streaming, you want to make sure you hardwire versus use Wi-Fi. The reason is because when you hardwire, you're going to get a consistent connection. So like this pen right here, you're going to get a consistent connection versus if you're using Wi-Fi, it's going to be really good. Then you might have packet loss. It might go up. You might have more packet loss. You might have packet loss for a while, which means you're going to end up with freeze frames drop frames and audio issues and things like that. So again, that's another great mistake as well, highlighted by Freedom Patriot Network. So with that, I want to invite you all again to make sure if you're on Amazon at launcher.live/EP97, make sure you go and follow us there so you get notified when we do these streams. We do them every single week, by the way. So we're going to be back next week with a whole nother topic. But with that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
We'll see you all on a future episode.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Enjoy the Halloween.